So we're here. This is probably going to be our third podcast so far. And the thing that's going to be particularly notable is that now children can watch it. So a little shout out to our friend Dan, who actually left a comment on our podcast. He was upset by how vulgar we were. He also thought that all of our opinions were stupid. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate your support. And just for you, we're going to stop burping.
Oh, I hope you like that.
So welcome to FFT, Final Fantasy Talks. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm Jesse.
And today we're going to be talking about a very sensitive subject for most card games, and that is banned cards. In specific, we want to talk today about Dadaluma's eventual ban and whether or not Veritas of the Dark should be banned.
Yes. So, well, let's go and talk about Dadaluma first, and why he's banned and reasons why either you think he shouldn't have been banned or whether banning cards like this is healthy for the game or sets a bad precedence to ban cards in the future.
We've all seen what it's, especially if you've come from other TCGs, which a lot of our the Final Fantasy players often do. You've seen what banning cards is like in Magic the Gathering. They're like, "Whoa, is it popular? Ban it."
Yep.
And then they decided to ban all the cards. This is called Standard.
Yeah, pretty soon here, after the next set, they're going to ban every card that's currently in play and make a new set. And they're going to be like, new Standard.
And then in Yu-Gi-Oh!, as you can see, Yu-Gi-Oh!, they have gotten used to banning cards a lot. They release a card, they see if it's too broken, then they go, screw it, let's ban it now.
Sometimes I feel like those guys don't even bother playtesting. They're like, we'll just release it and ban it if it's bad.
Well, I imagine that one of the things that makes this is that, okay, so in Yu-Gi-Oh!, there's a lot of cards that come out in a pack. Like, the amount of cards you can pull out of a pack, out of those 5 cards you get in a pack, is immense. There's like hundreds and hundreds of cards in a single pack release. And I imagine that when they're if they do any testing of the cards, which I think they do, they're only testing it with the new sets and they think that it's a sterile environment, but they don't realize that the wording might apply to older cards. And it's hard to go back and test every card that you've made in existence.
Right.
And I think this is one of the
Especially when your game is old as like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic.
Right.
And that's why I think Magic does things like Standard, so that when they release it, it can be acceptable in its standard format, and it may totally destroy Modern or Legacy.
And I mean, and another problem is that both of these card games were not to be too praiseful, but they were the first of their kind.
Yeah.
Magic was the one that really started the TCG thing. I'm sure there were others, but that was the one that really took off. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the first one to introduce a variance of mechanics that was radically different from Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And both of these games were young, and the designers didn't know what they were doing. We didn't have as much foresight and hindsight as we do now into the games. And so we never realized that Pot of Greed would be utterly broken. At the time, we were like, it's just 2 cards, Right. And at that time that you're playing, you are normal summoning each other to death. And if you don't know what normal summoning is, you're allowed to play 1 card per turn in Yu-Gi-Oh! If it's a normal summon.
Right.
And back then, that was the game. I normal summon this, pass. I normal summon this, pass. And drawing 2 cards was like, oh, nice little speed boost.
Yeah.
How cute. So...
All right, well, let's get back on topic and talk about Dadaluma. So you have Dadaluma pulled up, right?
Yeah, I do.
So go ahead and just read him for our viewers. I'm sure everyone is familiar with what he does, but this is a little refresh.
Okie dokie. So, context. We've got a cost 4 8K forward here, Dadaluma, and his effect is when Dadaluma is chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, choose up to 1 forward opponent controls, deal it 4,000 damage. When Dadaluma is dealt damage, choose up to 1 forward. the opponent controls, deal it 4,000 damage. So if you do this right, he's doing up to 8k almost every time.
Right. So, of course, there's the Cactuar Dadaluma combo that really sets him off really good. But
could you explain that to me? Because I know we talked about it last time. I still kind of don't get it. Like, what is the combo?
So Cactuar is a wind 1-cost monster who you dull to deal 1k to a forward, and you choose Dadaluma.
So that way you can get off the second 4k.
Yep. So you go, you ping him for 1, he splashes 4k onto your opponent. You ping him for 1, he splashes 4k onto your opponent. You ping him for 1, you splash 4k onto your opponent.
Okay.
So he's now taken 3, and you've now dealt out 12k.
So that doesn't sound necessarily like ban worthy, because there are cards that regularly put out like at 12k.
Every turn for free?
I mean, when my he ends at 12k and attacks, that's 12k for
right,
free.
but it's not with Hein or Hien, you have to attack or block. Well,
right.
This guy, you can go to combat, and no one wants to block him because they don't want to take the damage from him, because as soon as he takes damage, he splashes higher. And it's an Earth deck. They're probably running Titans and Yojimbo.
Oh, I see. So the context.
So he deals damage. Then in your main phase 2, or even end of combat, even before you're out of combat, you just ping him for a couple 3k damage, and he splashes 12k onto your opponent's field without them blocking.
Right. And since damage resets, you don't have to feel bad about pinging Dadaluma.
Right, because then you just end your turn, and he's back.
Ah, I see. So that makes sense. So would you consider such a strategy, would you consider it like degenerate?
No, I think it's about as degenerate as building a Shantoto deck, the forward Shantoto, not the backup. That just goes in every Earth deck. It's a mechanic, and whoever thought of it and saw it was like, this is good. I don't think it's like
so you think that
land destruction.
So you think that whoever found this ban-worthy thing is a genius?
Yeah, and I feel like they almost intended it, because they came out in the same set.
Right.
Like, they were like, oh, this is a cool combo. And maybe if they didn't even see it, but like, it's really kind of shaped our meta in a way.
Okay, so Dadaluma is a super stupid common play to come up against.
Yeah, less so now. Like, he's kind of fallen off in like Opus 8.
Why?
And then even more so, like, now that he's getting a ban, like, he's just kind of dropped off the face.
So is he getting a ban because of this Cactuar combo, or is he getting a ban for some other reason?
I think he's getting a ban because of the Cactuar combo and because of the synergy that other cards are going to bring to it in Opus 9. That's why he's getting banned at Opus 9.
How about you give me an example? Like, what kind of degeneracy would come out of Dadaluma in Opus 9?
So you have 3 Cactuars in your deck, right? So that way you can get them out.
Right.
And generally, you probably aren't taking them back from the break zone. So they kill it, and it should be gone, right?
Okay.
Larkesis, a new 3-cost 5k forward from FF Crystal Chronicles, in Opus 9, is when Larkesis enters the field, choose 1 monster in your break zone, add it to your hand. You can then pay 2 Earth and dull him to search for 1 monster and add it to your hand.
Okay, so you're saying that
this now gives consistency to your Cactuars all the time.
Ooh.
So playing him should get you all or 2 of your Cactuars.
Okay, and then the deck would no longer be like. So
that is you always are going to get this Cactuar Dadaluma combo out all the time. And even if they break your 1-cost monster, you can just play Larkesis and pull it back from the break zone and then drop it at the field. It's a 1-cost monster. Like, it's not expensive.
So my question is, are people building decks around Dadaluma, or is Dadaluma just like a Tekken, like people just throw him in for the funsies?
Both.
He's both? Okay. So then if he weren't banned in Opus 9, he would be the deck.
In Opus 9, I think so. I think there's enough synergy for a Wind Earth deck to dominate the Opus 9 meta.
Interesting.
Not that Dadaluma would be like the kingpin of the deck, but it just adds that much more to it. It'd be like if Alua was a 10k. Like, imagine that.
Right,
That'd
right.
be like everyone put that in every card deck ever. They're like, if it runs lightning, you drop a Lua and it's a 10k that can't be chosen.
If you run Earth, do through like 4 lightning backups so you could run a Lua.
Yeah, like just drop it in there. It's like that. So like Dadaluma being an 8k that can then, one, he's hard to remove because I choose him with an ability. And now I'm taking 4k. I dealt him any damage, I'm taking 4k. If I choose him with an ability that deals damage, I'm taking 8k.
Right, right.
And then on top of that, so I go bounce Dadaluma to your hand, choosing as at the beginning of your the select. So when they play the card, they choose before
Right.
it resolves. You choose, then Dadaluma says damage goes on the stack, and you go, okay, I'll Cactuar on top of that to deal in the damage. Do you have any responses? You resolve,
man.
and then so Cactuar pings in the damage that goes on the stack, and then both the 4Ks resolve one after another, and then he gets removed.
Yikes, that's pretty savage. So, are you happy for this ban? Like, is this a good thing in your opinion?
I didn't play Dadaluma, but I think, like, so, like, personally, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It can go, right? And, like, the people that I generally play with didn't play a lot of Dadaluma. I had one guy who played a Shantoto deck that had Dadaluma in there because Shantoto then splashes damage around, and then that just helps get over higher creatures.
Right.
So, like, I played against a couple times, but the point of his deck was the forward Shantotos, and so it wasn't, like, that big of a deal. So I'm like, personally indifferent, but I think for the health of the game, I think it's a good ban, even though I'm going to get railed in the comments for saying that.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that everyone would be upset over it, especially if it's such a good combo. No, see, it's kind of an interesting balance when you talk about TCG, because in a TCG, you are encouraging the players to seek power and get stronger and stronger. And when they finally achieve that goal and you take it away from them, it's not a very positive feeling for the player. You said go out there and be as strong as you can be, and then you immediately take away that strength. It seems almost counterintuitive. But the problem is someone does find the ultimate deck, there's no reason to play anymore. Anybody.
Right, exactly. So TCGs, like an RPG, right? You want to, like, build your decks better and get better personally and skill, and then collect more cards to make your decks better, right? And same as an RPG, you're grinding for loot and trying to make yourself better. The exact same. But then you have problems with the ultimate character, the ultimate deck.
Yeah.
If you're playing, like, RPG is more widespread, so, like, there's multiple play styles, but same with a TCG.
Right.
There's, say, well, let's talk about Final Fantasy 14 for one as a RPG MOBA. There is
the online one, right?
Yeah, there's definitive better classes, and then you get into higher, like, so for TCG you go to competitions and you're going to get railed if you're not playing this deck, right?
Yeah.
And then in, like, say Final Fantasy 14, if you're not playing a Black Mage or Dragoon DPS, they're like, what are you doing? Actually, it's probably better to go more towards the tank route, because if you're not playing a warrior, everyone craps on you. Like, you're doing it wrong.
I remember in RuneScape, there was always a lot of classes, but, like, objectively, one of the better ones was the archer, because they could, like, shoot through walls or run behind obstacles, and since everybody ran at the same speed, you could peck away at a warrior even if they were higher level than you, and you would die. It was just, like, the better way to play.
Right. Yeah, and I think, like, for a TCG, and the same with, like a MOBA or an RPG, you got to kind of even out the playing field, right? You got to, as a good developing company in making your game, you got to remove stuff. You got to nerf stuff. You got to ban stuff, because some stuff is just objectively better than others. And I think it was more preemptive than anything, because they're already making Opus 10.
Okay.
Right. They've probably have all the cards already for Opus 10. They've already designed all the cards in their play testing.
Okay.
So imagine them play testing whatever's in Opus 10, and someone's like, what about Dadaluma with whatever's in Opus 10, right? This is speculation, pure speculation. I don't know what's in Opus 10. I don't even know all the cards in Opus 9, right?
Wink, wink, guys.
But
Not
seeing
saying
the
he
cards
works there or anything.
in
just
Opus
saying.
9, seeing the cards in Opus 9, give me some insight into that. There's a lot of synergy that would work with Dadaluma in this set, and knowing that they're already working on 10 and probably already have all their stuff out for 10, like, or they working on the concept for the cards, that Dadaluma is a preemptive ban. Unlike Thaumaturge and Jesper, which broke the game like instantly, they broke the game. I think it's like preemptive so that Dadaluma doesn't become the game-breaking card.
Okay, I can see what you're saying. Now, in the situation, so we're about to be talking about like Veritas soon, but which side of you weighs like more heavily? Like, do you care more about like the longevity and the health of the game, or is the high of the chasing the power and building the deck, like how do you find a balance and which matters most?
Like, to me personally, I think like the health of the game and the longevity is more important, right? I would personally rather see people get in and play the game and have fun than dominate the game personally. Right,
because this is going to go back to the pre-qualifiers, and for anyone who doesn't know, we just recently had the pre-qualifiers at our local shop here, and I played against this really cool dude. His name was Kurt. Shout out to Kurt. And he was playing a mono ice control deck where the centerpiece was Sephiroth.
Yep.
And he was a cost 7. I think he was like 7, 8, 9,000. I'm not sure. That's not the part that mattered, because that's not the part of the card that kills you. The part of the card that kills you is that he makes you discard 2 cards when he enters. He makes you discard 2 cards when attacking, you discard 2 cards if you have no forwards on the field when attacking. Right. And if he attacks, he gets to just dull and freeze if you have cards. That card alone completely ruined my Samurai Scion, guys. Yeah. Just that card. I couldn't do anything as soon as that card dropped on the field. And that was not a fun game whatsoever. I'm sorry, Kurt. You were an awesome dude, but by God, playing against you was really not fun.
Yeah, I played against the same guy. I know what you're talking about. He was one of my matches in the tournament.
He won.
Yeah, he won. Well, I am so disappointed in my Warriors of Darkness. And speaking of which, when we're talking about Veritas, I'll give some more insight into why it sucked so bad.
Okay. When you went to the pre-qualifiers, did you play against any Dadaluma? Did you actually get hit with any Dadaluma?
Let's see, what did I play against? I played against Michael from Otaku Nation, cool dude. And what was he running? He was running a Yuri Chelinka deck. And he had like Earth in there too, and he was running like Arden and things like that. I didn't get a good like glimpse at the whole deck, and it didn't fire very well for him. And
Arden
it was a pretty short game. That's the 7 cost Unbreakable.
He's like the Sephiroth of Earth.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, he doesn't have like a lot of like super great like trigger abilities.
That Unbreakable,
that's really good.
The reason he's like the Sephiroth of that deck is because like when he's on the field, you're probably losing.
Yeah, he puts a really good board presence out there. I mean, he has a downside with they remove a character and he can't block, but then also it's making them remove characters. Personally, when I go up against Arden, like I somehow tend to be running something with water and run Ninja, and I'm just like throw Ninja on the field.
Ninja Arden.
When Arden's ability hits the trigger at the beginning of my combat, I go, okay, I will take Arden and sack Arden to Arden's ability.
Oof.
So, like, I've generally gotten around Arden. Arden hasn't been a big deal for me, but I do see where other people like struggle with Arden being an unbreakable card.
That's a pretty good play out there of note to players out there. If you run water and you have Ninja, use Ninja to take control of Arden and then break Arden for his own effect.
Yeah,
that's actually really, really cool. I like that. That's a really great workaround. However, that is a super situational workaround.
And I don't think you should run Ninja just for Arden. Because most people don't play. He's very high cost. I mean, even though that cost, as we've seen, means almost nothing. Like, people run very high cost cards in their decks competitively. what competitive deck that runs Earth doesn't run a backup Shantoto? That's a 7 cost.
Right. So then, so my question now is, if there are cards out there that are that powerful, like Sephiroth, that just stop you from playing the game, that just absolutely cripple like a lot of decks, or Arden, that is an indefensible wall. There's no way to get rid of him, except maybe Ninja.
You can reduce him too.
Right. So what makes Dadaluma's, like, his board presence worthy of ban versus other extremely strong cards like Sephiroth and Arden?
I think the affordability, because both those cards are really high cost,
right?
So they don't see a lot of play. So because of the affordability, the percentage of people playing it in a competitive meta is less. Right. While Dadaluma is a 4 cost, he's incredibly affordable and easy to run.
Just throw him in that new Galbez deck. You'll have one of the greatest controls of all time.
There you go.
Is it Sephiroth? Oh, play for free.
But like, I hear it a lot where the people are like, "Oh, he wasn't that, like, indomitable a card." No, he was easily removed.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm saying, he didn't sit on top of the meta, right? But I think it's not so much. They know what they're doing. It's their card game, right?
Okay.
They know what they're making, what cards are coming out.
You can say that, but
right.
You can also look at Magic and Konami, sorry guys, and sit there and say, the heck are you guys doing?
So if it wasn't such a good card, then why is everyone complaining about it's getting banned? Right? Like, if they banned a 1-cost evoker, everyone would be like, why did you do that? But at the same time, there wouldn't be 50 YouTube videos about Dadaluma getting banned.
Right, because if the card is powerful, people hate that it's banned, and if it's not powerful, nobody cares.
Right. If they banned a completely useless card, they'd be like, why did you do that? But at the same time, all right, it doesn't see play, like, all that much. Like, sure, there's decks playing it, but at the same, there's those, like, 2% of people that play in their deck, and they're like, what the hell, dude? But at the same time, like, everyone's talking about it. It was a good card. People who played it are upset it's gone, like, because people played it.
Okay.
Right. And I know I've said it like 100 times just in this conversation. I think it's a preemptive ban. Like, I've seen cards already as spoiled in Opus 9 that synergize with it, let alone what's coming in the future.
Okay. Now, on the subject of Veritas, now this might get a little touchy for those out there, because I know a lot of people like Veritas. I know,
and a lot of people hate it.
A lot of Jesse likes Veritas.
My opinion has changed.
Ooh, okay. Now this is juicy. So I came in, guys, I want you to know I came in today sitting here thinking I was the one with the hot takes, but my boy Jesse over here, he just did a 180, and now he's coming out of left field with them really flaming hot takes. Jesse, why has your mind changed? So previously we talked about Veritas on this podcast, and you did not want it to be banned. You liked it. You loved it.
I still don't think Veritas should be banned because Veritas is a brick.
Oh, okay.
Veritas is a big, steaming brick. He sits in your hand, and he makes it so you can't play the game. He's heavy. He's high cost. You draw maybe 1 Veritas in a deck. Maybe 2, 3 Veritas. At that point, like, you're just asking to lose the game.
Okay, so my question is, then if it's such a brick, why is that card going for $25?
It's got a good effect. It's got a really good effect. But so does Sin. You see Sin get played?
No, I haven't. But
Sin says win the game. Like, how good is that effect? That effect is phenomenal.
Well, Sin's also sitting at $6.
He's also a brick. Yeah, right.
He's sitting at $6.
And Gladiator, the common Gladiator, is like $350.
So when I was at the pre-qualifiers, there was 2 things that I did not see. I did not see against all of the tons of people I played against. I didn't see 1 Dadaluma, and I did not see 1 Veritas except for yours.
Yep.
Yours was the only Veritas I got to see. And the only other time I heard Veritas being mentioned was Dan screaming across the room, "Guys, I'm removing my Veritas. It's a brick."
Yep. No, same. So I shall recount to you a thrilling tale. First game,
Okay.
first hand to Veritas. You mull that, right?
Right.
And then like to the decks, like, you know, not to like the cards fall because they're playable. I got bricked in with like 3 Glaives and 2 Dianas in one hand in a Warriors of Darkness deck, and that's all your synergy. That's your engine, right? You want to pull things from the break zone. You want to search for Diana with Glaive. So of course I had to dump them to play the cards, right? So that game just went bad because I was bricked in. The deck bricked me, right? Not Veritas' fault. Second game, I pull like monsters and summons first hand, mulligan into 3 Veritas of the Dark. And a monk and a Lyle. So I play the Lyle and I pass. And I've got 3 cards in hand I cannot do anything with. And I can't play them because my hand size can't get big enough to play them.
Dude.
So I lose that game.
Oh my God. So
the next game, deck fires perfectly. I don't see Veritas the entire game and I win in 5 turns.
Nice.
Fourth game, guess who shows up in my opening hand?
Veritas.
For the 3rd time, after I've mulliganed. 2 Veritas. 1 knocked, 1 glaive, and a summoner. So I take first turn, and I think I play glaive with like knocked and summoner and something else to search for Diana, and then I pass. I lose that one too. And then I think my 5th match, I don't know if it is the right order. I'm a little hazy on this. I went 2 out of 5. And every time I won, I didn't see Veritas the entire game. Every time I saw Veritas, I lost hard. Because he's hard to get out of your hand. In our local meta, Veritas is so good. Because decks don't ramp up, they don't fire really fast. Well,
right.
Competitive decks that like people bring down from bigger cities and stuff, they move fast and they hit you like a truck. Right? Well, in our local meta, like people like to build and people like to play their combos. So you hit Veritas and it stops everything. Right? Great. Yeah. Phenomenal in local meta. Right? So like if I'm playing in our local tournaments, Veritas will probably be a 1 of. Maybe. But he's great in my boss fight deck. Like, you play him for backups in boss fight. But besides that, he's a brick in your deck. I didn't see Veritas once. The entire thing from another opponent. Because he's, like, his cost isn't that high. 6 is high, but it's not terrible. His problem is that he can't be pitched for CP, and he's a 6 cost.
So we need to start adjusting ourselves, because in order to continue to thrive in a competitive setting, we need to speed up our decks for sure.
Yeah.
And I quite agree with that sentiment, because when I was playing, I lost so going back to the comparison of the local meta versus the competitive meta, my Samurais of the Seventh Dawn, the Scion Samurai combo, it's actually really strong. When it finally hits the board state, it's big, it's hard, and
yeah. So like, it's for us because we have I mean, it's not like it's not like a really small community, but we don't get a lot of like out of town people, and you know, so.
And we don't have a lot of players either.
Our meta is very localized, right? And so, like, your meta builds off of the guy who wins the tournament every time.
Because you're trying to beat him.
Right, because you want packs. You want promo dice, foils.
I'm not going to lie. I think that the prize support for the pre-qualifier was kind of lackluster, given that, like, your eyes are widening, but to be honest, compare it to other games and their prize support for big events.
So we had $600 in prize support.
Yeah.
Like we had more prize support than our local Petite Cup, which cost more money to enter.
So look, I'm just saying, I don't think sure, you guys spent
Like,
$600.
everyone that came was like, how do you guys give out so much prize?
Well, because I'm sitting here going, because when I compete in like Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, prize support is like,
Right.
there's some really good stuff.
But
like,
then doesn't like Konami send out all like the promos for free?
they don't. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the things that Final Fantasy does is foreign to me. Like the whole promo picking thing. Like sometimes there are promos, but promos usually suck in Yu-Gi-Oh, and you don't care about them.
Right.
What you care about are like prize cards and like those promo packs that have the higher chance of pulling out the box card, the card on the box,
Right.
that kind of stuff. And usually those cards are like they're crazy good. Like, for example, now this one's a bit of an exaggeration, and this is going to take you back for anyone who has some Yu-Gi-Oh nostalgia. Way back in the day, there was a card called Crush Card Virus. Do either of you know what Crush Card Virus does?
I think I remember it having to do with.
I actually run Crush Card Virus in one of my Layer of Darkness deck, but it's a different version. There are two versions. There's an eroded version. So I'm actually talking about the original version. All right, and I'm going to... Marco, could you pull up the original Crush Card Virus for me?
Can do. Give me just a moment.
So I don't...
What I'm saying is that like the prizes that you get should like totally be like, yes! Like so for example, the other day, because keep in mind for everyone who's here, I didn't actually compete in the local pre-qualifiers. I actually played Gunslinger. I lost every match, of course, which was sad. When you said, all right, you guys get 2 packs, I'm like, oh, yay, more Opus 8. Like, I didn't care. I handed my packs over to Marco.
You didn't buy in.
Huh?
I said, of course your prize wasn't great. You didn't buy in.
Well, that's the thing is, if you gave me 6 of those packs, I still wouldn't have cared.
Right.
Because...
So, the first place got a, like... a big Tonberry plushie.
Right.
You got the trophy they sent us. They got a playmat, sleeves, 15 packs, a whole mess of promos, and 2 sets of promo dice.
I do think that the trophy thing was pretty cool, but that's honestly the biggest part. Like when you were like, oh, the plushie, I think the mat and the cool mat and the because those are collector's items.
Yeah, the trophy. Yeah.
But everything else for me, it's like, because like, sure, I could pull those packs, but like, I was looking at the other players, especially like the ones who were in the top 4, top 8, and I looked at them as they opened those packs, bored out of their minds, and then just shoved them into their giant binder full of the copies they already have.
Right.
And that's the feeling I have too. Like, I'm not really looking for any of those new cards now. Like, I've already made my decks. I came with the best deck I, at least at the time, thought I made, and I already have my cards.
In your opinion, what would have been better pricing than packs?
I honestly think collector's items, always. Collector's items or rare single print. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Do you remember they had the Crush Card Virus? So did you pull it up?
Yeah.
Well,
it actually has 2 erratas.
Yeah, it's 2 errata. I want the original one.
So they also received first and second place received the like sideways promos, which are worth like a stupid amount of money, even though they're not playable.
That's cool.
Like,
could you send it to me, please?
In my opinion, packs are more distributable among the players. Also, Square required us to give 4 packs to every player.
No, I understand.
And like, you know, collectible stuff. It's like
just throw it into my Discord.
It's harder to spread the prize pool if you buy collectible stuff.
Right.
And most of these players probably have anything that we could receive. Things that Square sent us, phenomenal, great, awesome. Those are things they probably can't get, right?
That's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, that should be this price support.
Right.
Is that kind of stuff. Like, and there should be stuff.
Which,
like, for example,
you come from like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you only receive prizes when you get to like bigger events, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, you just get points to get you to bigger events.
Yes, and
you don't receive any prize.
And that stuff is really, really cool. Like, I met a dude the other day at our very shop who had a very old token that said Top Kasi Duelist. That honestly is awesome to me. He's never going to get that. And there was another one that said, there was a card that said, like, World Championship or whatever. It said you could only play this card if you were at the 2009 World Championship.
That's cool.
And that was also awesome. There's a lot of awesome stuff. Did you send me the Crush Card Virus?
Yeah, put it on our chat. Our family.
So
here, let me show you here how good prizing used. Well, this is a bit of an exaggeration. This card had to be eroded because it was just too strong.
Wasn't there for a time for Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments where they would create special packs for you to open?
Yes. That's exactly. They had promo packs. They had special packs for events. They only had a few cards in it, but the cards in them were top tier goodies.
They're what you wanted. Like, they were the good stuff.
So right here, Crush Card Virus. If you won a tournament, this was a card you would get. Tribute one dark monster that's like Break It or Sacrifice. One dark monster with 1,000 or less attack. Check your opponent's hand. All monsters they control. All cards they draw until the end of your opponent's third turn after this card's activation, and destroy all monsters with 1,500 or more attack. Like, look at that. That's some stellar prizing right there. Like, you got that? That was worth something. I mean, obviously this card had to get eroded. It was just too powerful because the people who won that tournament went on to win more tournaments because they would see that card in their hand once.
Right.
But I now run a very dumbed down version of Crush Card, and the dumbed down version says your opponent may destroy a card from the deck of 1,500 or more attack. And you might be thinking that sounds stupid for your opponent to do, but in Yu-Gi-Oh, the graveyard is where you want all your stuff to be.
Right.
So I mean, I really feel like but also there's no prestige in it because sure you get the trophy, but also anyone who didn't get the trophy doesn't have a lot to show for. I used to think that Yu-Gi-Oh's whole and Magic's whole counting and ranking system was dumb, but now I start to see if you can just at least go, hey guys, I'm number 2,000 in the world of, I don't know, millions of players.
Right.
That means quite a lot.
Cool. Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. And then the only other thing I think you have to show for it is if you're like Jesse, you have a giant Walmart bag full of dice. He has them on the wall. This is the time that I won with this one. And that time I was playing against Ryan and I beat my own deck. I felt very proud and let down in my deck. And in that one...
Which actually is kind of funny. I had 3 of my decks playing at the local qualifier.
Oh, you did. And this is going to be the most negative shout out, but William, come on.
Yeah, that is a good deck. That deck's better than the deck I played.
Yeah, dude, you really should have been up there.
And then Curtis did really well with Dragoons, which I almost actually played because it's just really fast. And goes to show that just pure aggro decks can really do it for you. Because we had a guy in our local qualifier from our local group which had a deck of 100% forwards and a couple summons. Everything's a 2-cost or a 4-cost.
I saw him playing in the qualifiers.
And we got top 8.
No
he got
way.
5th or 6th? Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, he did real good. And he just plowed through people. It was it wins really fast or it hits a wall and stops.
Jeez. The problem was that everyone's deck was so fast, I couldn't ramp. They were just removing or dealing with everything that I laid down before I could make my plays. In fact, that guy Kurt, he was a really nice dude. He gave me a lot of advice. And he said
he was helping people at the end build decks and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He sat down and he said, I think this is a cool idea, but the Scions and the Samurais are actually stronger in their own decks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, really? And he put together 2 deck lists for me, and he's like, just try these out.
That's cool.
And I was like, how much is it going to cost? And he's like, just get the starter decks. You only need to remove 1 or 2 cards. And then from there, you just got to sit there and decide how you want it to feel and play. And you'll probably do well in the tournaments. And he was like, I hope I see you at the next pre-qualifier.
That's really nice.
And so I surprise everybody. I'm probably gonna try to build one of these two decks, or maybe both.
Yeah.
I came to the shop when I went to go pick up your lost GoPro. Apparently, Jesse's other house is just the shop now.
Yes. I mean, I spent enough time volunteering there.
I went over to. I noticed they got the Samurai, and then they had the Scion deck, and I asked where'd they go, and they were already bought up. So
Yeah, they go real fast because some of the cards are actually worth some cash.
So now I guess I have to order it online, or I'll have to figure something out.
So we got a little off topic because I brought up the local qualifier.
Well, no, this wasn't necessarily off
Back
topic.
to
This was great.
Veritas, and whether you think he should be banned. Go ahead.
Well, to be honest, given the new information, I don't know anymore. Because I haven't... no one is... So, another negative shout out. Someone said they were going to lend me their Veritas for the pre-qualifiers, and he didn't.
Right.
So I don't know how he plays. Like, I have never used Veritas, ever. I've only been up against him, and every time he plays, he completely cripples anything I'm doing. So if a professional player sits here and laughs at Veritas and says that's a bad card, that's only slowing you down, then that must mean my decks are just so bad that they're crippled by Veritas. Or it just means that he's a really good card and no one quite gets how to use him. And I don't know one of the two because I haven't been able to play him. See, I personally... Right. Previously, my stance was that I think he's a card that should be banned because he's a card that, at the very least, is gonna cost you 4 to 6 cards in the long run. This is assuming that you have the ability to remove him with those cards. So you start with you chuck one card for a cost 2 on the field. Veritas comes on the field. You chuck the cost 2 that you just played, and now you play another cost 2 to kill him off. You put him away, and then you play another cost 2 to replace what you just played. That's like 6 cards.
So a good way to think about cost of cards is the card you're playing itself also costs 2 CP. Like a free card is 2 CP. That's how much it costs because it's also a resource in and of itself, right? So Veritas costs essentially 8. Right, because he's a 6, you pay 6, and he costs 2. I mean, you can't ditch him because he sits in your hand, but still, a card in your hand should be worth 2 CP.
Right, but the amount of value you get out of that is
so you drop it,
exceeds.
And if it kills a 2 cost, that's 4 CP. Right, you just shifted 4 CP. Right, so now you're 4 CP down. Now when he leaves, he kills another 2 cost. Now you've equalized. But now you're down for 8 CP and they're down 8 CP, and then they have to replace.
That assumption is best case scenario.
Right.
In most cases,
it's higher than 2 that leaves.
Absolutely.
Yep.
In most cases, it's going to cost you far more than that.
So on paper, I think Veritas is a great card. I think his ability is so good that it could break the meta. I think because he's a dark card, if he was Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, Ice, it would be the best card in the game right now. Because he's dark, it slows your deck down and it stops him from being as good.
Right.
That's just my take on it.
Well, if someone's willing to lend me some Veritas to play with, I might have a more sculpted opinion because, like I said, I only played against him, and you're the one who's been using it against me.
Someone that rhymes with Schmenden?
I've actually Brendan has never, ever gotten off a Veritas on me every time I've played, but I have only played him 4 times with his completed deck. And I think that either he had a brick, or he did not. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, Marco?
I managed to play against him once,
and
he did pull a Veritas on me, but I was using his Knights. It didn't do all that much.
Yeah, you just remove like one of the lower 3 costs, and you're like, okay, so now that Zalbag leaves the field, kill that thing.
Oh, I can tell you for a fact my chickens don't care much about the Veritas.
Oh, not at all. Yeah.
They don't care.
And from just reading the effect, my 10 deck would actually benefit from Veritas being played.
Right.
I could remove Brother and get a free search again.
Right. I mean, I guess if you think about it, if you go into Veritas, if you pick the right, if your deck can afford it and you pick the right card to throw out, then you get more. Like if you've got Diana, the Lightning Diana on field, and then you chuck her for Veritas. That's not too bad. Like now you get to pull something else out of the break zone.
Right. Yeah. And like I was saying, if he wasn't dark, you could trigger Luna Freya with him, and he'd be so much better.
Yeah.
So
that loop would be
so
degenerate. That is a degenerate.
Think of a Veritas in doesn't matter what color, and you run water, right? Whatever color he's in, be it water to fire, it doesn't matter. Whatever color that Veritas is, that's not dark. If there was a card named that Veritas wasn't dark, if he was a normal element, right, not light or dark, you'd run water with it. You'd probably run tricolor. You'd run ice, water, and whatever color he is, just to splash him. Okay, and then whenever he leaves the battlefield, you put Luna Freya and you bounce him back, right? So he's already gone to the break zone when Luna Freya's ability triggers, so he does his leave the break the battlefield trigger, and then he comes back in and triggers again, and then you can play Renoa on top of him to flicker him. He leaves the game, comes back in, and you remove another one. Like, you would get so much value if he wasn't dark.
Hey, by the way, speaking of dark cards and how good they are, did you get my boss deck back?
I did. It's at the shop waiting for you.
I'm really sad about everything that happened at the pre-qualifiers.
Yeah.
Because when I handed them my boss deck, I remember I had sat down and I was like just looking through a bunch of cards that had synergy from all my cards, and this thing runs all elements, and it doesn't have a problem doing it. Like it has some massive plays, but the dude who was running it was like, "Hey, dude, is this your boss deck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is my boss deck. You should fix this. It really sucks."
Ow.
I'm like, are you kidding me? A boss deck just wins. Like, for real.
Yeah, it was real weird. So, like, the heroes won every time on the other table.
Oh,
but
okay.
the heroes, anytime, like, I was the only boss that won.
Uh-huh.
Like, when I played boss, plenty of people played boss, and they lost every time. And I don't understand it. Like, when I played boss, cleared the field, just kept everyone's board state less than one forward on the field every turn.
Maybe they're just playing with foreign decks and they don't get how they work.
Maybe seeing the deck and you didn't build it and you didn't it's not your baby, so you don't understand how the deck really runs.
Because like I gotta tell you, I've played a few games of boss with my boss deck against like 3 or 4 people.
Right.
And I've always won, like, to the point where I stopped playing boss because I find it...
Because you're like, this isn't fun to win every single time. Like, I feel like when you build a boss deck and you know all the plays, like, especially when I play like mine, like, I just draw cards and win.
Yeah, it's very low effort, and that's kind of like the fun of boss, is that you're able to take on 3 guys, but it's only a novelty, and you can't do it all the time.
I want to challenge both as the boss and as the hero, right? Like, every time I played my darkness, I played dragoons, I played knights. Every time it was a walk in the park. It was like the boss wasn't removing, the boss wasn't a threat. We played around it every time. It could come down to communication, because when I play a hero, I try to like communicate and organize teams.
Right.
But generally, when I'm the boss, like even like when I play against you as I'm the boss, like the team's coordinating and trying to figure out plays, right? But like every time I played in our side event, the local qualifiers, no one communicated when I was the boss. They were just like, play this card, play a card. Wait, can you do this? Like they're not like formulating strategies.
Well,
maybe
that's because like
is the problem.
It's clear that all the people who attended, like, none of them played boss before.
No, most of them had not.
And
they're like, I had to teach a lot of people how to play it.
And also the thing that's really important to know is this is gonna sound kind of mean, because I'm probably gonna sound like one of those guys talking about them meta sheeps. But when you come from playing competitive meta where you do everything by formula, and you go into a formula or a format, not a formula, where that formula isn't necessarily the way to go, it's hard.
Right.
Because you.
Yeah, I see that for sure. Like in Magic, they have Commander, right, which is similar to boss fight in the fact that it's very different.
Everybody is the boss playing against each other.
Right. And like good Commander players don't make good competitive Magic players, and good competitive Magic players don't make the best Commander players, even though that generally if you have that well of a good working of understanding of the cards, you're pretty good at any kind.
That's why you see a lot of people who go into Magic and they only play Commander, or they only play, what's that thing, Prismatic? Whatever it's called. There's another weird game mode that
I have no idea. I know they did make a new one, Oathbreaker, which is like Baby Commander. But anyways, that's besides the point. I do see like that players that play specifically one are generally not phenomenal at the other.
Right.
They're very different.
And I personally, as a sort of Magic player, only play Modern because I don't want to buy sets.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to buy sets, so I just want to play with the cards that I have and enjoy the game.
I either play someone else's Commander deck or Kitchen Table.
Kitchen Table.
Which is no format. Just play the card you got.
Nice.
So speaking of Veritas, the winner of our local qualifier, shout out to Josh Gardner, I believe, from the Meta Potion. He just posted in our local Facebook group his article about it. Talked about how he was going to play Mono Water Veritas. And that it failed him so many times that he didn't bring it.
Ooh.
So there's that.
There you go.
So as a conclusion, I don't think Veritas is going to get banned because I don't see him seeing much play in future. Like, he's going to be around. He's always going to be around. He's going to be that like Camelot, right?
Yeah.
You see him in every like deck once in a while. Like, you're like, oh, there's a Camelot. I know what he does. You're going to see him. He's going to crop up. But like, as you saw in our local qualifier, he didn't see competitive play.
Okay. So the conclusion is, if you're losing to Veritas, get good scrub.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can still lose to Veritas because he's still a good card if you have a deck that fires them off really well. But you have to ramp a lot for firing Veritas off in a competitive game. You want to fire really, really fast.
So,
and either that or just control the crap out of your opponent's board.
And then, and after this, you and me, we're going to sit down and we're going to make some new deck lists to see if we can make something more competitive. And now that we have, as much as it was a tragedy, we went there and we got completely railed at the pre-qualifiers. Also, little hint for the future. We got a lot of footage for you guys.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're going to be analyzing a lot of the plays that happened. We've got some of the best players took the hot seat at that game.
Yep.
And we got some really good plays going on. We got a lot of cool stuff. But now that we have all of this insight, we're going to be using it to build better decks, and I'm hoping that you all will join us.
Yeah. We'll in the future too. We'll do some like deck tech talks, and we'll talk about decks that we're making, and do some like.
And then I can bring my tech decks.
Yeah. There you
skateboard.
Go. Yeah, your tech decks, and we can talk about tech decks and deck tech.
You know,
actually, we can hang out on the tech decks while we deck tech.
And that would be great. And while we're doing it, we'll just ride down the street with our cards.
Do some ollies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
be
I like
all
that.
sick. See, for me...
I only have a Dark Star, so you're going to have to bring me one.
Yeah, gotcha. For me, it's a little hard because my center of mass is a little,
right.
It shifts a lot, as you can see right here.
You can just ride my land yacht.
Ooh, okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
What's a land yacht?
It's a longboard.
A longboard?
It's a very nice longboard. Yep. It's like a yacht on land. Beautiful.
So I would really appreciate it if you guys would leave your opinion on the Dadaluma ban as well as the Veritas ban question. Is Veritas ban worthy? Is he a good card? Are we stupid? Should we get good scrub? And I would really appreciate it if you were to join us on the next FFT Final Fantasy Talks. I was your host, Ryan.
And I'm Jesse.
And you guys stay Final Fantastic.